Hi, it's Maggie. As I mentioned in the faculty meeting this morning, this early afternoon, I'm here. I'm recording this video, which will not be as well edited as previous ones. I'm quite tired. And this is really just for those that are unable to make it to the intro to small group tomorrow, which would be Saturday, October 24th. So this is just going to be going through some documents and how small group is going to look, including breakout rooms. I'm going to do my best to explain breakout rooms without, because sharing my screen doesn't share Zoom stuff. So like the Zoom windows. So I'll do my best to explain that. And I'm going to do this as quickly as I can, but without rushing. So as I'm starting to share my screen, I'm going to have a drink of my wine and meet you on the other side. Okay, so I'm actually going to start with this form that is a PDF that was labeled Faculty Instructs. Let me move you guys over here just so that you can kind of not have to see me looking around. Okay. Hopefully that's taking up the majority of your screen. This is the packet of information, this Faculty Instructs with an X, that was sent by Kathy, is all things small group, primarily talking about level one. Level one has the most structure and it has the most documentation. And that is because we're doing a little bit more of the, not a little bit more, we are specifically teaching different aspects versus in level two, they are a little bit more seasoned at it, a little bit more practiced at it. And so they're doing all of the aspects of the hypnotic experience. So all of the pieces of it. So we will have 4 different practice sessions, and those are going to be held over the next 4 days of the workshop. So the 2 final days of this weekend, and then the next 2 for level 1. And in level 2, there are 3 practice sessions. To make it easier, we broke up the names of the groups and by color, so following Roy G. Biv, so that we're able to kind of keep it straight. So what that means is there is going to be a yellow group in level 1, and they will have, yellow group will have 4 small group practices, as will all of the groups in level 1, and all of the groups in level 2 will have 3 practice sessions. Right now, what I'm talking about is going to apply a little bit to both, but primarily to level 1. If you are doing 911 urgent backup on call stuff, you still want to kind of keep an eye out on this information, just in case you need to pop in, you'll know kind of what's up what. So as I mentioned before, it's imperative that each participant have the opportunity to practice in each small group session. So time management is going to be key. We did decently, we did pretty dang good today. And I want to make sure that we get a little bit better and not eat up any of our small group time or eat up any of our break times by running over with just general chattery. So that's going to be up to the facilitator to make sure that every single participant has the space and the time to practice. There are 4 to 5 members in the small group. I remembered now a couple of people aren't, I think we have 23 or 24 in level 1. So 4 to 5 group members. So that should be plenty of time in your 90 minutes up to, I think, 105 minutes maybe. for practice. And then there's 5 to 6 members in your level 2. And I think you guys have an hour and 45 for your practices. So let's take a look at this circle here. Now, obviously, we're not sitting in a circle as we would in a small, conference room. But the main thing to keep in mind is that there is going to be a bit of a triad, and that triad is pretty important. So if I am facilitating and Linda is the recipient in that dyad, Linda, the recipient, then becomes the facilitator. And we have found in the Regional Workshop Committee and the Standards of Training Revision Committee have seen over many years of piloting different ways of doing this, that having the recipient become the facilitator often speeds up reorientation. It also speeds up the transition time of like, I don't want to go. Do you want to go? Oh, we both want to go, and kind of deciding who goes next. We really just get to streamline, and that time can eat up about 5 to 10 minutes sometimes if you have a pretty indecisive group. So the first facilitator works with the first recipient, and then there's an identified observer, and then the rest of the group are general observers. The recipient becomes the facilitator, and the observer becomes the recipient. And then the facilitator previously is just a general group member, right? And then you identify another observer. So that is a really great way to keep things moving. So as you can see here, there are some time breakdowns, so keep that in mind. What the feedback process looks like in terms of time frames. We're really not spending 15, we're not doing a practice session for 5 minutes and then talking about it for 10. The other is in level 1, there is this building blocks process that is happening between each small group. So what that means is the first small group is practicing the first elicitation that they see, which is going to be diaphragmatic breathing, and then reorientation. So it's not listed here, but what they're doing is rapport, elicitation, and reorientation. That's what they're going to be doing in small group 1, and they're practicing diaphragmatic breathing. And small group 2 for level 1, they are doing what they did before, rapport and elicitation and reorientation. The rapport goes from 20 minutes to less than a minute. And then they're adding in intensification. There is not a specific intensification that they are practicing. They're practicing something that they learned about, heard about, read about, researched about, picked up in the lectures, that kind of thing. In session 3, in small group practice 3, they're then adding in another building block. So rapport, elicitation, and intensification with that reorientation. So all the stuff they did in small group 2, and then they're adding in a suggestion, which means that they will want to, in this establishing rapport, they're going to want to establish a goal. Not doing therapy. Typically, I recommend that people are increasing confidence to use hypnosis and those kinds of things. Sometimes they'll say, feeling a little bit of less tension in my back from sitting all day, those kinds of things. And then session 4, which is a little bit longer. I do not believe it's 150 minutes because of how small the small groups are. But now they're doing everything that they were doing before and adding in hypnotic phenomena. So in small group session 1, they're practicing diaphragmatic breathing. And small group session, which they will have seen directly before the small group, they will practice a new elicitation of eye fixation, which they will have demonstrated in front of right before small group 2. In small group 3, they will practice eye roll, which they will have demonstrated right before session 3. And in session 4, they will practice arm levitation or reverse levitation, whichever is that they choose, or whichever is shown in the demo. And so that's all happening. You want to make sure that you are asking them, and we'll talk to them too about getting a pre and a post alertness scale, just so that we can, especially with this virtual format, we want to make sure that people not only are at their baseline, but that they also understand the difference and that they can tell and feel that difference to help walk their clients through it as well. Okay, so that's the packet in the beginning that talks about what small group looks like. Here are some signs of trance. The clients, obviously, we're familiar with these. This is what the clients will be, I apologize. The participants will be taking a look at and seeing. We can also point those out if they don't notice them. Here's the group rapport form. I talked a little bit about this in my last video. This is very important to be filled out over 15 to 20, about 15 minutes for the size of the groups that we have, and then emailed out to everyone so that every other small group facilitator will be able to have this information. It's very important. It's just like passing along an H&P, right? This is a general form that will be in the client packet. Oh, I'm sorry. I keep saying client. Participant packet. And it is meant to help them see those signs of trance. This is for the general feedback group. Here are just some other pieces for them to be aware of. This is not a form that they are filling out. Here are the forms that the identified observer are filling out. So they will have this either printed or they'll be filling it out electronically. Hopefully they're filling it out. If they're doing it electronically, hopefully they're doing it on an iPad or a tablet of some kind versus typing it, but to each their own. And what they're doing is they are just saying whether or not they noticed these things. And the idea is to get them to be looking at more things other than, you did a great job, I loved it, right? Being able to have more detailed feedback so that everyone can grow and improve their practices. Each small group, obviously, we're adding something, so the forms are getting longer. So you want to make sure that the identified observer knows to use the specific form for that practice session. So 3, and then 4 is actually on 2 pages because of how much stuff there is. This is the evaluation form. They have this, and they are to complete it at the end of each small group and then return it back to Kathy. And so it's a nice thing to just mention it to remind them, or else they have to do it all at the end and everything just gets really confusing on who did what and when was that and all of those things. They have all of these examples. They have all of these scripts. As I mentioned before, and I will mention again, and I will mention to the participants, and I already have once, and I'll do it again. The scripts are there for a guide. The scripts are there for them to reference before and use what they like, but not to be reading verbatim, not to be having the script, in front of them and doing this thing, right? And so they're here to help them begin understanding how to formulate language. And also because we know sometimes with this much content being dumped on them, it's easy to kind of forget. So those are the pieces that are in your faculty instructions. There are pieces here for treatment planning, but I'm giving, Lane and I think are doing that lecture in level 1, informed consent, Okay. Now, these are the small group rapport forms. So this is what the clients have. We went through those and we went through that stuff. So that is the small group process.